What is the most interesting historical factoid that you know? A young Welsh crow later nicknamed the man in the red bandana after sacrificing his life to save at least 18 people before the South Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed on September 11th, 2001.
Wow. I googled. Wow.
Piles of hunted bison bones waiting to be shipped east by rail to be used for fertilizer, gunpowder, and in the sugar refining process. Alberta, Canada, c. 1880s.
The dude in the back is clearly holding elk antlers. Must be some elk bones mixed in.
US. President Bill Clinton and President Boris Yeltsin of Russia cracking jokes. Hyde Park, New York, October 23, 1995.
Hart St. John Paul Roman II meets with Mehmet Agca, the man who attempted to assassinate him. 1983.
Why did you want to kill him?
Human Statue of Liberty made with 18,000 men, Camp Dodge, Des Moines, Iowa, 1918.
Two teen girls helping to assemble submachine guns during the siege of Leningrad, 1943. City of Detroit back in its prime, circa 1940s. Once the wealthiest city in the world, its decline was cemented when automobile companies began their exodus in favour of foreign manufacturing that promised cheaper labour.
I'm sure one exists, but I would love to see a documentary about the rise and fall of Detroit.
Ishmael Dal Lake, British Feb 1956.
After being evacuated from Dunkirk, British troops aboard a destroyer arrive at Dover, May 1940.
Fourth guy up from the bottom left corner is the 1,000-yard stare guy.
A cage in the buildings for your baby to get some air/sun in 1937.
Polish border guard and his horse drank from a stream in Beast to the mountains while on patrol. Polish border guard still uses horses to traverse difficult mountainous or swampy terrain. This photo was used for recruitment purposes. Poland, 1980.
Out there checking fence.
A man recording a concert in Poland, 1980s.
Three men recording.
35 years ago, the Sumgate program against the ethnic Armenians began.
Anne Frank in front of Opta, her father's company in Sindel, Amsterdam in 1935.
Seeing photos of Anne Frank just breaks my heart.
1976 photo from the restaurant Windows on the World, which sat atop New York City's World Trade Center's North Tower.
Boys pray on bunk beds in a dormitory at the Bishop Horden Memorial School, a residential school in the Indigenous Cree community of Moose Factory, Ontario, Canada in 1950.
That woman in the background looking like a supervillain.
A young Chinese woman from one of the Imperial Japanese Army's comfort battalions is interviewed by a British Royal Air Force officer in Rangoon after being liberated in August 1945.
JFC, how does one survive what she went through?
Yossi Ginsburg. The date he was banned, having been lost alone in the Amazon for 3 weeks. 1981.
https://nm. Wikipedia, org/wiki/Yossi Ginsburg.
D. 1975, Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro on the set of Taxi Driver.
A photo of Father Hans Schmidt, a Catholic priest who emigrated from Germany due to scandals. In 1913, he gained international notoriety after murdering a woman and drinking her blood. For this, he became the first and only Catholic priest to be executed in the United States.
Lacemakers in Brittany, France, 1920.
Did the different hats have meaning, or was that just the styles available?
Louis Victor Bailop, who fought in Napoleon's army. At the time of his death at the age of 105, he was last living veteran of the Battle of Waterloo. 1897.
A US flag flies at the Manzanar War Relocation Center, a Japanese-American internment camp. The camp was a detention facility for some of the 120,000 Japanese Americans excluded from the West Coast under wartime Presidential Executive Order 9066. The song Kenji by Fort Minor deals with this and how Shinoda's grandparents suffer from this.
Information desk at John F. Kennedy Airport, 1956.
Looks like we peaked.
A stolen Army helicopter sits on the south lawn of the White House. The Daredevil pilot, identified as Army PFC Robert K. Preston, was forced down by a volley of shotgun blasts from federal police on the Executive Mansion grounds.
He heard about the drunk dude landing the plane in NY and decided he could do one better.
February 1940, a 39 GMC hauls a load of Pontiacs down the main street of Eufaula, Oklahoma. Color as 2400 x 1600.
Time travel and we would hijack the entire load and park it in a barn, carrier and all.
Adolf Hitler meeting Herbert Hoover in Germany 1938. 740 fakes and 156.
When your mom organizes a playdate for you.
Albert Einstein giving a talk at Lincoln University, Pennsylvania. 1946.
Love how everyone is dressed up nice and proper.
Belongings of Srebrenica genocide victims litter a road after the mass execution of men and boys. 17 July 1995.
This is so terrifying, especially because it happened not so long ago.
Child in a tiger suit. Beijing, China between 1918 to 1919.
So cute.
Osama bin Laden, the freedom fighter against Soviets. Afghanistan, 1980s.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend is a short-term Prince Poloni.
Funeral of Swedish PM Olof Palme. He was the leader of the Swedish Social Democratic Party from 1969 until his assassination on 28 February 1986. He was shot in the back while walking home from a cinema with his wife Lisbeth. The murder has not been solved.
Hamon Scandinavians, give us your conspiracy theories.
Barbary line resting on the desert with the Imo mountain range in the distance, French Algeria. Photograph C. 1893.
Incredible photo. Thanks for sharing.
A photo of the aftermath of the bombing of Canadian Pacific Airlines Flight 108. All 23 people on board were killed. The bombing was the first attack on civil aviation in North America, Quebec, 1949.
Thank you, OP, for this riveting bit of history.
Che Guevara and Fidel Castro fishing 1960.
The Real Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, 1990.
An 18-year-old Alan Rickman 1964.
Hans Gruber origin story.
Actors Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo playing their Game Boys on a break from filming the Super Mario Bros. Movie in North Carolina, c. 1992.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar photographed in New York City by Richard Avedon in 1963.
Isn't this Roger Murdoch?
On this day, February 14, 1942, various Polish resistance movements merged in order to establish the Home Army.
Titanic's lifeboat 6 approaches the RMS Carpathia. It had room for 36 more people. April 15, 1912. 13-year-old Paul Martin Andrews was rescued after being found chained in a box after being abducted and sexually abused for 8 days, near Dismal Swamp, Virginia. 1973. August 1983. A farmer about to eat a lizard in order not to starve to death in Sorel, Brazil.
The Soiling of Old Glory, Pulitzer Prize-winning photograph of civil rights protester Ted Lansmart being assaulted with the US flag during anti-school desegregation protests in Boston on April 5, 1976. The image was featured in the opening scene of the film The Departed. I remember our 6th field trip to Boston getting cancelled because of these riots.
Thiel and President Gerald Ford play with a soccer ball in the Rose Guard, White House, 1975.
A man selling brooms and baskets. Japan 1890-1896.
A white mob consisting of thousands of people, many of whom are hoping to participate in or witness lynching, stands outside the courthouse as a black man stands trial for murdering a white girl. At least one person in the crowd was seen carrying a rope. Kentucky, 1920.
Lexington, Kai. The building still stands.
Princeton sophomores after a brutal snowball fight 1893.
Not one snowball was thrown.
Refugees during the Bangladesh genocide perpetrated by Pakistan. Up to 3 million people were murdered and 10 million people fled to India. Hundreds of thousands rapes were recorded after Bangladeshi women were declared to be public property by Pakistani religious authorities. 1971.
Can we get some references, please? I would like to know more.
Joseph Stalin, future leader of the Soviet Union. Mugshot taken sometime in 1911, he was arrested by the Tsar's secret police for revolutionary activities.
Worker and supervisor at a car factory, Moscow, Soviet Union, 1954. Photograph by Henry Cartier-Bresson.
Mao Zedong and Chiang Kai-shek make a toast to celebrate the surrender of Japan in August 1945. It was the last time the leaders ever met.
As soon as he stopped shaking my hand.
1979. The last confirmed grizzly bear in Colorado, killed in self-defense mid-attack.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. And have a wonderful day.
1970. Primatologist Diane Fossey and young male gorilla Peanuts, who is copying her.
Children in Newcastle upon Tyne's West End gather and play on piled-up mattresses, England 1981.
That doll is hella scary.
Mushroom cloud forms above what was once a city of 255,000 people. On August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima by American B-29 bomber the Enola Gay. Over 80,000 were killed instantly, and an estimated 50,000 to 60,000 died later of injuries and radiation exposure.
18-year-old prostitute Kata scours the street for work as a police car drives past in Moscow in 1991, shortly before the collapse of the USSR.
Wondering how she's doing now.
Japanese country bath. Ka. 1900.
Looks more like a carefully arranged studio set than an actual centre.
A scout car crew of Indian soldiers chat with young civilians in San Felice, Italy, 1943.
An Italian resistance fighter in Florence, 1944.
Ronald Reagan punching Muhammad Ali during his visit to the White House, 1983. Reagan was born 112 years ago on 6th of 1911.
Harriet Tubman was still alive when Reagan was born.
Norwegian Quislings of the collaborationist group Sonderabteil and Lillestrøm trial for treason. They were responsible for torturing, killing and systematically informing on resistance fighters. 1946.
Lipstick tester in the 1960s.
Portuguese Air Force paratrooper and nurse, Orotal is at an airfield in the Portuguese colonial territory of Guinea during the Guinea-Bissau War of Independence, c. 1963-1974.
18-year-old Mike Tyson with his train at Costa before his first professional fight in 1985. Martin Luther King's funeral in Memphis Funeral Home, 1968, April 5.
3 Sioux veterans of the Battle of Little Bighorn attend a ceremony in South Dakota in 1948. They had witnessed Custer's last stand in 1876, where General George Custer's unit was surrounded and annihilated. They are from left to right: Iron Hawk, D Beard, and High Eagle.
Iron Hawk, strong name. High Eagle, solid. Beard, dumb okay. Michael Jordan # 23 of the Chicago Bulls attempt to dunk during the 1988 slam dunk contest at Chicago Stadium. Portable changing boost for the beach, circa 1938.
Human toothpaste.
That's the dirty. That killed my brother and injured Nick Cusey's immediately recognises and points to James Morley, who killed his brother and shot him in the neck. Morley and 2 other men were implicated in 5 shootings, 3 of which were fatal. Chicago, 1947.
9-year-old Eunice Winstead Johns and her husband, 22-year-old Charlie Johns, Sneville, Tennessee, United States, 1937.
Chinese miners in Idaho Springs, Colorado. Late 1800s.
Children mutilated by Congo soldiers. Soldiers were required to provide the hand of the victims as proof when they had shot and killed someone, but to save ammunition they sometimes cheated by simply cutting off the hand and leaving the victim to live or die.
The first celebration of Estonia Independence Day during the Estonian War of Independence. Tallinn, Estonia. February 24, 1919.
British soldiers of L Squadron SBS curiously looking at Greek carvings on ancient ruins of the Parthenon Temple, Athenian Acropolis, Greece. Late October 1944, Second World War, Southern European Theatre. They say of the Acropolis where the Parthenon is.
Riflemen are Douglas of the Royal Winnipeg Rifles with a group of Dutch women who are celebrating the liberation of Deventer, Netherlands. April 1945.
Spanish flu epidemic. A policeman berates a man for not wearing his mask, circa 1918.
Protests against accepting Chilean refugees into Canada. Toronto, Ontario, 1974.
A giant snowman measuring 17 feet made by 2 children in Aberdeen, Scotland, 1963.
How'd they get to the top?
Dining room on the ill-fated Hindenburg airship, 1920s.
1989 Plymouth Voyager 3 concept. A miniature tractor trailer.
Grisly scene of slain King troops, Korea 1895 during the Jaiwu War.
JFK and Bill Clinton greeting at the White House in 1963.
A photograph of Mrs. Young, the wife of the Chinese ambassador to the US. Inscribed on back to Miss May H. Morgan from her friend Mrs. Young, Washington, May 28, 1895. Crowd awaited news from the Titanic survivors in New York City. April 1912.
Still with the hats, fellas. At night,